What's up, everybody? Going down July 11th, we got UFC 329 McGregor versus Holloway 2, and this is going to be my full card breakdown and predictions. I'm really excited for this event. This card is absolutely loaded from top to bottom. We have the biggest superstar in the history of mixed martial arts back in the octagon, Conor McGregor taking on Max Holloway in a rematch. 13 years in the making. We have not seen Conor fight in 5 years, and he's coming off of that catastrophic leg injury that he suffered in the trilogy against Dustin Poirier. Very excited to see what Conor looks like in his return against Max Holloway. Very excited to talk about the main event. And in the co-main, we got an absolute banger. Benoit Saint Denis versus Paddy Pimblett. Paddy looking to get back on track. Benoit riding a 4-fight win streak coming into this matchup. A very interesting stylistic clash in the co-main event. And then we have one of the best fights on the entire card. A high-level X's and O's MMA nerd type of matchup between Cory Sandhagen and Mario Bautista. This is also a rematch. That is years in the making. Cory got it done the first time relatively quickly, right? A first-round submission. Safe to say, Mario has gotten a lot better since that first fight, but so has Cory Sandhagen as well. And then we have Brandon Royval versus Lonnie Kavanagh. You guys, if you've been following the channel, you know how I feel about Lonnie Kavanagh, man. Super excited to see him back in there against another legend of the flyweight division in Brandon Royval. We got Bob Green versus Terrence McKinney. The matchmakers absolutely cooked with this card. We have amazing matchups all over the place. Excited to break this card down, man. But without further ado, let's rock and roll right into this thing. Our first fight of the night, we got Cody Durden versus Alessandro Costa. Now, this was supposed to be Cody Durden versus Ode Osborne. Now, the good thing for Cody Durden is he suffered many losses in a row to where it was really looking like Durden was going to be done in the UFC. And for a while, I was saying, look, Cody's one of these guys that's very durable. He's got solid wrestling, and he's really just a scrappy dude at 125 pounds. His boxing's okay. He starts fast. He looks good. And then it just feels like against these younger, very dangerous opponents, it all just kind of starts to fade after the very first round. But Cody Durden turned back the hands of time, going out there and not only beating Jafel Filho, to where I was actually in the Apex for this fight. It was actually incredible to see what Cody Durden did live because I thought Filho was going to run him over. And I think a lot of people felt that way. And Cody Durden said, y'all must have forgot, man. Came in there on short notice and absolutely worked Jafel Filho. Put him in a blender, mixed in the takedowns, outboxed him on the feet. And Cody Durden, that was the best he's looked in a long time. Now, he was preparing for Ode Osborne, right? A southpaw, very, very fast, sniper-like striking on the feet, but a guy that does have holes in the grappling, right? To where I felt like Cody, outside of getting sniped early by Ode, he could really kind of weather an early storm and battle back and possibly get it done over Osborne. However, this is a much more difficult opponent. You're going from a dangerous guy in the first round to a guy that is dangerous for all 15 minutes in the mini Diego Lopez, right? That is Alessandro Costa, who is now taking another short notice fight because this last fight, he stepped in on short notice against Matt Schnell and absolutely went bombs away and put him out of there early, which we all knew was going to happen. Listen, Costa's a mini Diego Lopez. He's got the hairdo, right? He's got super dangerous power, right? Not only does he throw big, powerful shots with the boxing, but he rips the body just about as good as anybody in the UFC right now. And that's really the way that he's been able to get a lot of these guys out of there, especially recently, right? The way that he put it on Stuart Nickel, who's got a really good wrestling base, who hasn't looked that great in the UFC, but he can put it on you with the wrestling and the pace, which is kind of a similar style to a guy like Cody Durden. No problem whatsoever. Was able to sprawl and brawl, hit him with that liver shot, put him away. Most recently putting out Matt Schnell, who's part of the Chinny Chin Chin Club, who has no durability whatsoever. Alessandro Costa has looked really good, man. And outside of losing to Coria, who's a really good boxer, this is a guy that's been impressive. And look what Boras just did to Lima, right? So to me, pretty cut and dry matchup. If Cody Durden's going to get the job done, he's got to push the pace early and really try to melt Costa with pressure. And I know that Costa's taking this on short notice, but I say this all the time. If there's ever a division to where short notice is just not really going to affect a guy, it would be the flyweight division. These guys are Energizer bunnies. They all have good cardio. They're all well-rounded. I got to go with Alessandro Costa, man. And I think that he's going to be able to put Cody Durden away in round number 2. I think it's going to take some time. I think Durden's going to have some early success. He'll put the pressure on Costa, start to get some of the boxing going, start to bring in some of the level changes. But as we've seen on that streak prior to beating Filio, which was very impressive, Joshua Van was able to outstrike him. Ochoa was able to put him away. He was very dangerous. Nascimento able to submit him. Nijam Jungababa, I can never pronounce that guy's name. Tumen Dembarel was able to out-grapple him, was able to put Durden in some bad spots. I think Costa can outstrike him on the feet. He's much more dangerous. And that submission game, it's a lot like his teammates Alexa Grasso and Diego Lopez. They got sharp boxing on the feet. Not the best footwork, right? It kind of cutting the cage off, but he moves forward. He's got a great chin, excellent leg kicks. I think he'll work the base of Durden, start to rip to the body, hurt Cody there, take some of the wind out of the sail, and eventually be able to get a TKO stoppage. But I could very much see Costa hurting him badly and then hopping on the back and finding some sort of submission. Costa, to me, the far more dangerous fighter. He's on a roll right now, and I think he's one of the most dangerous flyweights on the roster right now. Shout out to Durden for taking this fight, staying on this card, but I think he's getting mowed over in this one by a super dangerous in game mini Diego Lopez and Alessandro Costa. I like Costa a lot, man. I think he gets it done over Durden. Next up, we got Ryan Gandra versus Zachary Reese. Now, I know that maybe your initial reaction to this is going, oh, Ryan Gandra is just going to walk down Zachary Reese and put him away early and just go bombs away. And this should be, smooth sailing for Gandra, easy win. Not so fast. I do think that there is that scenario to where Ryan Gandra, which, by the way, I do think is the most likely scenario, that he does just march down Zachary Reese and get him out of there. But there is this side of me that does feel like this could be a trap for Gandra because he's super dangerous, walks forward with reckless abandonment, throws these big winging windmill shots to where he gets really, really wide and loopy to where if it lands, he could put just about anybody away. But the problem with his style is, yes, he's very, very aggressive and foot on the gas and throwing these big shots where if they land, they can put you away. But he leaves so many openings to allow a guy to throw good straight shots down the middle to be able to find the chin. And he also leaves himself very vulnerable to being taken down to where I could see Reese coming in with an intelligent game plan, sticking and moving early, trying to drag this fight out past the first round where we haven't seen Gandra a whole lot in his career. I know he's won a decision before. We've seen him, go past the first round. So it's not like I have a ton of cardio issues, but I do see a scenario to where Gandra hurts him bad. Zachary Reese kind of has that veteran savviness at this point to where he could craft up a savvy decision win here or find a way to get Gandra, out of there in the mid to later rounds if Ryan does gas out hard trying to get the finish. But the reality is, for me, I just don't trust Zachary Reese. And I honestly don't think Zachary Reese is that good. Now, having said that, I do think that he has made some improvements, to be fair, right? Lost to Azamat Bakoyev a year and a half ago, which was just, in hindsight, it's a bad loss because Bakoyev has looked terrible, right? Got it done against Dusko Todorovic, right? The situation with Cedric Dumas, but Dumas is not very good. Was able to submit Jackson McVeigh, which is actually a pretty good win. Close one with Michel Pineda. I did think Zachary Reese won the fight, and we saw what Michel was just able to do against Shara Bullet. But to me, I kind of have to go Ryan Gandra because I just don't think Zachary Reese is going to be able to survive that early storm. But like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if he fades because this guy's a finisher, and that's what makes Gandra so exciting. He can hurt you on the feet, get to a dominant position, find a submission. I like these prospects that come over from LFA. They have poise to them. They're well-rounded for the most part. The win over Trent Miller, on DWCS, ran over Jose Medina, which was very impressive. And I believe that, didn't Zachary Reese go to like a decision with Medina or something? So, battle of I guess, styles per se. But listen, I think Gandra's more dangerous. He's got more power. Zachary Reese is very hittable. He's going to have a little bit of a reach advantage. He's going to be a little bit taller. Zachary Reese's defense sucks. His chin is up in the air. He doesn't move really well when shots are coming his way. I think he should grapple early. Try to extend this fight. Try to get it to the second and third to where maybe he could get Gandra out of there. But I just don't think he survives an early Ryan Gandra storm. Gandra, while he gets a little bit wild, and I do think that there are some openings in his game, I don't know that Reese is the guy to exploit some of the holes that I think, I just don't think Zachary Reese is going to be able to exploit some of those holes that Gandra has in his game. So I'm going to go Gandra, first round knockout, puts the pressure on Reese early, has no respect for him, and just go bombs away, hurts him, and gets him out of there. Because we've seen Reese get banged up in a lot of these fights. right? And I feel like Gandra having a good ground game, having the submission skills to back it up, he can hurt Reese on the feet, submit him on the ground, won't be afraid to kind of follow him to that area. But if he chases a finish and can't get him out of there early and kind of, uses a ton of energy, I could absolutely see Reese battling back to make this one a gritty dogfight to where we've seen Reese as a proven guy in that area. So as much as, I kind of rip on Zachary Reese, I don't think he's very responsible defensively. He's got some holes in his game. I think Ryan Gandra can exploit that and get him out of there early and put on a show at UFC 329. Give me Gandra round 1 knockout over Zachary Reese. Next up, we got Damian Pinas versus Cesar Almeida. Now, this is a fight that I've actually went back and forth on quite a bit because I think Damian Pinas is very impressive. And I've liked this guy ever since I saw him fight on DWCS, right? Came in, knocked out Costa with a beautiful 1-2 down the middle. And you guys know I'm a sucker for good technique. And this guy threw just a beautiful jab, right hand right behind it. And that to me is very encouraging. And I think that that's going to be very important for him in this fight because as well as, Cesar Almeida has kind of done as a kickboxer prior to the UFC, he's kind of been up and down in the UFC. He's been stung a lot. He doesn't move his head very well to where I very much could see Pinas throwing those straight technical shots down the middle and finding the target against Almeida and being able to get him out of there, right? And he's coming off of a great performance 3 months ago against Wes Schultz. But to be fair, Wes Schultz isn't that good. A guy that's kind of dependent upon the wrestling. I don't think Wes Schultz is really UFC caliber. But either way, went out there, got him out of there early, predicted Pinas to do such, to do exactly what he did. And I think that this is one of those fights that I think is kind of a coin flip fight. I think that obviously Pinas is the much younger guy. He's 24, making rapid improvements in his game. It feels like we see, I don't want to say a new wrinkle, but a little bit more from him each fight, right? To where we see him a little bit more patient, a little bit more methodical. I think that's going to be very, very important for him in this fight. And if there's ever a fight to where Damian can break out some of the grappling, I think that this would be it. Because Cesar Almeida, while I don't think his defense is great on the feet, this is a guy that beat Alex Pineda in kickboxing. And I know that was a while ago, and Almeida's 38, and he hasn't looked that great in the UFC, which we'll talk about in just a second. But Almeida's got dangerous power. Dangerous power. He could switch stances well, and I think he's the more well-rounded striker. I think he's got better kicks. He's got more, techniques to throw at you to where I definitely could see Almeida catching Pinas and getting him out of there. But one of the weaknesses that we've seen in Almeida's game is the defense, man. And a lot of these guys that come over, you look at Poatan, you look at Izzy, you look at Yusri Balgoroy, these kickboxers with these tall, rangy frames translate to MMA much better. They can kind of have that long, rangy style to where, Almeida's more of a, hands up, walk forward, and he leaned on kind of the shell, hiding behind the gloves in kickboxing to where that doesn't translate the same in MMA. And so you see his defense suffer, in my opinion, quite a bit in the UFC, and that's what we've seen. Right? Got the KO over Dylan Buck, who's not UFC caliber. Right? A close fight with Roman Kopylov, which is a solid performance, right? Because Kopylov's very technical and very good. Right? Got it done over Ior Potieri. Got, I believe, stung pretty badly in this fight against Abdul Razak Al Hassan. Battled back, was able to knock him out with a nasty left hook. Basically just got taken down and controlled and outworked by Cezary Oleksiejczuk. Listen, Almeida's good. I'm not counting him out. I think he could land a big shot, out-technique Pinas, outscore him on the cards, and maybe even walk Pinas into some sort of big counter shot. But I think Damian Pinas is going to have the right approach here, and I think he's going to be able to get this one done, but I think he wins by a decision. Sure, he could go out there, land a big missile on the target, and put away Almeida, which I think would be very impressive. But Cesar's scary, man. You got to be very, very careful because right when you think that a guy's pulling ahead and you're starting to kind of light him up and start to find your timing, boom, he'll throw a left hook. He'll chop away at the legs and take away some of your base. So I think Almeida is the more high-level striker, the more proven striker, but I think Pinas is the better MMA fighter. And I know you got to be careful when a guy like Pinas who's a striker and you come out and grapple a lot, that can, you get away from your game, that can wear on you and make you a little bit more tired. But I feel like even shooting a takedown can then make Almeida a little bit more hesitant to where you can take advantage of some of that suspect defense that Almeida, it's kind of like Poatan, right? Where Poatan has this suspect defense, doesn't move his head a whole lot, relies on the long guard. We see a lot of that from Almeida. And what does Pinas do? Throw excellent straight shots down the middle to land clean on the target. I think he can out-damage Almeida, mix in some takedowns, and fight a relatively smart fight here, which is what I think he's going to have to do to get this win. Because if he goes out there and just goes bombs away and tries to, go tit for tat with Almeida on the feet, I feel like Cesar can chop away at the legs, mix up the shots to the body, and walk him into some power shots and either knock him out or win on the scorecards. But I think Damian will have a well-rounded MMA performance to where he puts the jab in his face, fires the right hand behind it, feints level changes, and just kind of scrambles the brain of Almeida. And if you take him down and you make him work, not only does his output slow down, but his gas tank starts to take a little bit of a hit. And I think Pinas can go out here. We've seen him get a ton of KOs. He's got a good gas tank from what we've seen so far. I think he mixes it up and can put Almeida in more danger and outscore him and get this one done on the scorecards. I'll say 29-28. I'll say Almeida takes a round in there. Maybe, round number 3 battles back a little bit. But I think Pinas, he's young, he's hungry, and I think he's the better overall MMA fighter here. Although I think Almeida's takedown defense has gotten better. I like Almeida. I was tempted to pick him here, but I got to go with Pinas. I think he's the more, crazy to say, but kind of the sharper striker, right? Because Almeida's a guy that, fought in kickboxing. I think he's got some holes in his game, gets a little bit too tit for tat. He's been hurt before. I think if Pinas hurts him, he won't let him off the hook. Give me Damian Pinas to get this one done by a decision, but I could see a KO either way. Great fight. Next, we got Tracy Cortez versus Bang Bang Wang. This is a cut and dry matchup. If Tracy Cortez is going to win this fight, it's basically by playing a pitter-patter game from range and using a ton of footwork and just kind of picking and poking at Wang to get it done on the scorecards and avoiding the power shots, or Cortez getting Bang Bang Wang to the mat and being able to control her for a large majority of this fight to rack up the control time and win on the scorecards. Maybe even she finds a submission. The problem I have with Cortez is, yes, on the ground, she's got a solid submission game. And outside of that, I just don't know that Tracy has the danger on the feet to be able to gain the respect of Bang Bang Wang. And listen, I know that Kong Wang's had some issues, and in my opinion, it's been a lot of, she's like, look, I'm the accomplished kickboxer. I'm coming into MMA here. Nobody can strike with me on the feet. I got a win over Valentina back in the day, and I feel like she had this cocky kind of vibe to approaching striking in MMA, and I believe that this loss to Gabriela Fernandez was a wake-up call, saying, listen, this is MMA. Anything can happen. It's 4-ounce gloves. You don't have the big gloves to hide behind, right? There's takedowns. There's all these different aspects in this game to where you need to be a lot more respectful of your opponent's skills. And I feel like ever since then, right before that, had a beautiful KO over Victoria Leonardo, right? Got it done over Bruno Brazil, Ariana Lipski, got it done over Eduardo Mora, which is a very good win. We've seen the KOs kind of slow down as the fights go here, and the competition gets a little bit steeper. But what I like about Kong Wang, she's looked a little bit more patient to me, looked a little bit more dialed in, not holding her hands super low, right? You see some of the taunting, the hands come down, and she's kind of waving you on, playing the game, but a little bit less of that, to where she's a little bit more dialed into me, and I like the improvements that we've seen in the takedown defense. So for that reason, I'm going to side with Bang Bang Wang to get this one done by a decision. I'll say 30-27. I think as long as she keeps us on the feet, she's getting the job done. And Tracy Cortez, beating Gatto 4 years ago, getting it done over Jazz Devicious is a good win. Lost to Thug Rose, right? A good striker with good footwork. Did get it done over Viviana Rujo, who isn't particularly good. Did get subbed by Blanchfield, who's a very good grappler. I think Bang Bang Wang has improved with the takedown defense. She's got good footwork. She's physically strong for the weight class. And I think she can sprawl and brawl, keep it on the feet. She's got the power advantage. She's got the striking advantage. And I don't think Tracy has, power like someone like a Gabriela Fernandez to be able to make, Kong Wang pay, for kind of moving forward with little to no respect at time for her opponents. Now, if I'm Cortez, I'm taking a look at that Fernandez fight. I know Fernandez is a southpaw. It's an open stance battle, but when Kong Wang drops those hands, start hiding some high kicks behind the boxing, right? And if Tracy does that, she can maybe catch, Wang slipping a little bit. But I'm going to say that Wang goes out here, big opportunity, right? She's going to have a 1-inch reach advantage. She's going to be a little bit taller. I think she marches Cortez down, puts her on the back foot. She could see the shots coming, sprawl and brawl, and outstrike her on the feet. Give me Kong to get this one done by a unanimous decision. I think it's very convincing, and she bangs Cortez up on the feet with the striking advantage that I think she has here. Next up, we got Kamaka III versus Luke Riley. This is a banger fight, and I think that this fight's a lot closer than what a lot of people might think, because Luke Riley, training with Paddy Pimblett over at Next Gen MMA in Liverpool. I think Luke Riley has all of the skills, man, right? Undefeated, excellent Muay Thai, very, very sharp boxing. And we got to see that on display where I called this, but I was saying second round knockout against Grad, right? It's going to look dicey early. Grad's going to take him down, but you're going to see Luke Riley's poise on display. You're going to see him get back to the stool, come out, make some good adjustments, and snipe Grad with the boxing. And you just saw a beautiful, tight, technical left hook, textbook technique from Luke Riley that put him away, right? And then got the job done over Michael Aswell, who's got absolute pillow hands. And I think 125ers, a lot of those guys hit harder than Michael Aswell. But at the end of the day, Luke Riley put on a good performance. He's got excellent kicks, very, very sharp boxing, right? Coming over, from the outside promotions and Cage Warriors. He's looked very, very good. Got a ton of hype behind him. He's someone the UFC is investing in. And listen, this is no easy challenge. I know that Kamaka, a while ago lost to Diego Brandao, right? A legend of the UFC. If you know, you know, right? Diego Brandao 8 months ago. But outside of that, he's looked impressive. And right, he kind of was, fighting on Tough Enough, training over at Extreme Couture, a really good gym, beating Michael Lima by KO, or Michelle Lima, excuse me, getting it done over Dakota Hope. This was a close fight. Back and forth, Dakota Hope had moments, a teammate of Joshua Van who's got some good boxing, but I believe that was his UFC debut, right? And Kai Kamaka is a guy that's got a ton of experience, right? 18-7-1, tons of experience. He's been there, done that. He's very durable, got great output. Right? Solid grappling skills, offensively and defensively, to where I think in this fight, he has the advantage with the grappling. And I think if Kai Kamaka comes in with a game plan that kind of strike with Luke Riley, mix in some level changes to freeze him up, bring that output down to where Kamaka can outvolume him on the feet, I think there's a clear path to victory for Kai in this fight. But I can't go against Luke Riley here. I can't do it. But I'm going to say that Luke Riley gets this one done by a very competitive decision. I'm going to say 29-28 for Luke Riley. I think that it's going to be close, but I do think it will be clear that Luke Riley gets this thing done. I think early Luke Riley will have success as the fight starts to play out. In round 3, I think that's where you'll see Kamaka put his foot on the gas and maybe take that third round. But I think Luke Riley will win the first, win the second. He's got the power advantage. He's got I'd say the versatility advantage. He's got good kicks. His takedown defense has looked pretty good against the opposition that we've seen. I think Grad is a much better grappler than Kai, but Kai's durable, man. He's got good technique. He's got a good jab. He's well coached with, by Eric Nixick. They're going to come in with a good game plan to where I think that they're going to make this competitive. But I just think Luke Riley, he's more technical. I think he can beat Kamaka to the punch. When Kai's throwing these big shots, Luke Riley stays very technically tight. I think he lands that left hook, can sting Kai Kamaka, bang him up in the first 2 rounds, and then I think Kamaka starts to battle back in round 3 and make this a little bit more competitive. So I'm not counting out Kai by any means. I think he's got good technique. He's a good striker. He's well-rounded. He's tested. He's gritty. And I'd say he's the more grittier fighter in this matchup. And Luke Riley is hittable. I don't think his defense is the best. But I think Luke Riley is going to be a step ahead. He's 27 years of age. Right, he's going to have a little bit of a height advantage here. The reach cancels out. It's the same. I think Luke Riley can beat him in the pocket, can stick and move from range, and outscore Kai Kamaka in a close competitive fight to get the job done. But I'm not counting out Kai at all, man. I think that this guy is a lot better than what people want to give him credit for. And I think that he's maybe a little bit more durable than Luke Riley is. And Kamaka's got a lot of experience now. I could see him weaponizing it, mixing in some takedowns early to slow down Riley, make him a little bit more tired. But we've seen even against Grad, you can take down Luke Riley, things cannot look good, and then boom, can change the fight with one shot is all it takes from Luke Riley. I think Luke Riley's a little bit sharper on the feet, and I think he can get this one done and stay undefeated and move to 14-0. Great fight. It's going to be entertaining. Next up, we got Cody Garbrandt versus Adrian Yanez. If this was like, 2016, 2017, something like that, back in the heyday of Cody Garbrandt in the UFC, where it felt like the UFC was trying to kind of push him to be the next big thing, I think Cody Garbrandt could smoke Adrian Yanez and knock him out. But the reality is this is a 35-year-old Cody Garbrandt who's going to be at an almost 5-inch reach disadvantage. And we've seen Cody's output has really, really slowed down ever since those losses to TJ Dillashaw. And I feel like Cody just hasn't been the same guy. And I know when you look at the past 5, right, it looks better on Tapology than what you remember from the Garbrandt fights. You're like, wait a minute, he's won 3 out of his last 5 here. He beat Trevin Jones. He knocked out Brian Kelleher. I think Adrian Yanez beats both of these guys, right? So again, take it with a grain of salt. Gets submitted by Steveson Figueiredo. Okay, no harm, no foul. Stevison's incredibly well-rounded, very good. Raoni Barcelos, he's been on an absolute tear and a resurgence later in his career here, right? Got it done over Long Zhao, but I picked Cody to win this fight, but let's be real, kind of lucky because, Zhao couldn't figure out how to stop fouling, and that's what allowed Cody Garbrandt to basically get the job done, right? So as much as I wanted Cody to win, I didn't think that he basically won the fight, but it was because of the fouls that were able to basically get it done for Long Zhao. The reality of Cody Garbrandt, he's got some of the most hand speed that we've ever seen in the lighter weight classes, and he absolutely has dynamite in his hands to where Adrian Yanez is a guy that is relatively chinny as well. So as much as we want to talk about Garbrandt not being the same guy from, years ago and where he was the best fighter of all time for 25 minutes against Dominic Cruz, and then just kind of fell off the mountaintop. Right, gets KO'd by Dillashaw, and it feels like his confidence hasn't necessarily been the same, and that's why you've seen the strength of schedule. The UFC was just kind of trying to build him back by giving him these older guys where he's got a significant speed advantage to where if Yanez recklessly closes the gap, Garbrandt can knock him out. Garbrandt's got devastating power in his hands. He's got crazy speed, really good calf kicks as well. And outside of Steveson Figueiredo submitting him, nobody takes down Garbrandt and keeps him there. So it's not like Yanez is going to out-grapple him. This is a striking match, right? And even if Garbrandt mixes in some level changes, which I think would be smart, Garbrandt doesn't really keep guys down. So I think Yanez will pop back up. Yanez has never looked better, in my opinion, than this last fight that I thought was a robbery, that it was, I think a draw, right? The fact that this was even scored close by the judges was crazy to me. I thought Yanez clearly beat Ricky Simón, and Simon's a better wrestler than Garbrandt. Yanez's takedown defense looks excellent, right? In a lot of these fights, he got knocked out by Rob Font, was getting pushed by the UFC, right? He got clipped with an uppercut in close, leg kick TKO by Martinez, who's got excellent low kicks, right? Knocked out Vinny Salvador, which was impressive. Close fight with Daniel Marcos. This, to me, is Adrian Yanez's fight to win. If this was a few years ago, I might be picking Cody Garbrandt because I don't trust the durability of Adrian Yanez. We've seen him clipped. We've seen him hurt. Garbrandt definitely has the speed and power and that counter right hand to put him away. Garbrandt's low output. He's chinny himself, and I don't think he's going to be able to take Yanez and keep him down. So I got to go with Adrian Yanez in this fight, and I think that he's going to find a way to get Garbrandt out of there, and I think it's going to happen in the second round. The reality is, as long as Yanez doesn't get clipped by that counter right hand of Garbrandt, Yanez can pick and poke from range with the jab, mix in some low kicks as well, which he's got to be careful throwing those naked to where Garbrandt can step in with that right hand and catch him. And don't play that game along the fence, where Garbrandt's along the fence, dipping and bobbing and moving, looking to counter. That's where Cody Garbrandt can be very dangerous. Yanez needs to intelligently pressure, fight behind the jab, keep the chin tucked, get the boxing combos going, start kind of methodical early, start to pick at Cody, start to frustrate him, get him to see red, because when you do that, that's where we see Garbrandt open up, and that's where he's able to get caught, like in the Pedro Munoz fight. So you got to fight the ego of Garbrandt, and we've seen him kind of pull back from that, to where he kind of doesn't really fight with the ego anymore, to where he tries to be a lot more technical, which is one of the reasons that he's low output. So for those reasons, outside of Garbrandt, taking him down and controlling him for 15, don't see it happening. If Garbrandt lands that big right hand, he could absolutely knock out Adrian Yanez. But I think Adrian Yanez, he's 32. He's looked really, really good recently, despite losing some close fights. He looked great against Ricky Simón. He hurt him badly. I think Ricky Simón is more durable, a better wrestler, and Simon's got some decent striking. And I know styles make fights, and Garbrandt, to me, is a better striker than Simón, but I think Yanez's confidence is back. I think he can fight behind the jab, utilize the reach, and once Yanez gets the timing, some of the smoothest boxing in the UFC, the way he gets the jab popping, rips the uppercut up the middle, shots to the body, I think Yanez, to me, is the more technical all-around boxer at this point in time. While Garbrandt might be faster, might have more power, outside of landing a KO shot, I think Garbrandt's getting outscored in this fight. Maybe it goes the full 15 and it goes to a decision and Yanez just outstrikes him, but I just don't trust the durability of Garbrandt, and I think it's going to be one of those things where he's going to be low output, hitting a running man, emoting in there, not going to be enough to get it done on the scorecards. Yanez picks and pokes at him. Garbrandt sees red, tries to bite down and land a right hand, and Yanez tags him with an uppercut in close and puts Garbrandt down and gets the biggest win of his career. Give me Adrian Yanez to get this one done. I love watching Yanez fight. I like Garbrandt. I'm a big Garbrandt fan. I picked him in the last fight. He got kind of lucky, in my opinion. I'm crazy that he was able to continue considering all the fouls and the low blows from Long Zhao, but I got to go Yanez. I think he's methodical enough. As long as he fights patient and smart, I think he gets it done. But we have seen Yanez cracked, so I'm not counting out Garbrandt, but I got to go Yanez here. I think he's able to pick and poke and walk him into some big boxing combos to put him away. Next, we got Gable Steveson versus Elisha Ellison. Now, this is the long-anticipated, awaited debut for Gable Steveson, multiple-time All-American, right? One of the most credentialed collegiate wrestlers of all time. I'm super excited to see Gable in the UFC, right? Was trying for the NFL, right? I think was on like a practice squad for the Bills or something, right? At least was invited to camp, was trying the WWE route. Now he's at Jackson Wink, training with Jonathan Jones. And I know you can say what you want about John outside of fighting, but in terms of the fight IQ and the techniques and the tactics, learning from arguably one of, if not the greatest mixed martial artist of all time. And I think that it's rubbing off on Gable. And listen, only 3 fights. Finishes. He's looked impressive, right? And I know that, I think it was this last fight 4 months ago, a guy landed a spinning wheel kick in the corner's like, keep your hands up. And he got clipped with a spinning wheel kick. Gable Steveson is going to learn from that. This is a very winnable fight for him. However, I'm not going to put the cart before the horse because he's a huge favorite. He's a guy that absolutely should win this fight. And we know why the UFC is booking this. Elisha Ellison is the sacrificial lamb. He is the lamb that is being led to the slaughter here, right? And I don't think he's UFC caliber, right? And his UFC debut got absolutely brutalized by Brando Perisic. But to be fair, Brando Perisic, he's looking like a dangerous prospect at heavyweight. And Ellison has the MMA experience to where maybe he could land a big shot on Gable Steveson. The reality is, it shouldn't happen. I don't think it happens. Gable Steveson, I think, absolutely dominates Elisha Ellison in this fight and gets him out of there in the very first round. But I don't want to put these crazy expectations on Gable in the debut, right? He was on the main card. I'm glad the UFC pulled him off the main card. Don't do that, right? Giving him the Bo Nickel treatment to where you're basically giving fans a reason to not like Gable. Slowly build him up. He doesn't have a lot of experience in MMA, but tons and tons and tons of experience wrestling, right? At Minnesota, Olympic gold medalist, like Gable Stevenson's the real deal. He's a much better grappler than Ellison. He could take him down if he needs to, if things get hairy for whatever reason. Gable Stevenson's got power. He's a natural-born athlete. He's going to get in the face of Ellison, land some big shots on him, but I honestly think Gable should shoot a blast double right off the rip, take him down, and beat him up on the ground, and I think that that's exactly what he does. Throws a big right hand, clips him, shoots a double right after it, takes him down, puts him on his back, destroys him with ground and pound. The referee steps in and calls a stop to the contest. Give me Gable Steveson by round 1 demolition. It's why the UFC's booking this fight. Got to give Gable the slow build, though. Slowly build him up. I know he's got a crazy wrestling background and one of the best to ever do it. Slowly build him up. Don't throw him to the wolves too soon. I know Ellison is not a highly credentialed wrestler, but he's a guy that's got MMA experience, and this is at heavyweight. He does have power. Gable's young in his career. He's been fighting cans. Ellison, I think a little bit better than those guys, but I still think Gable should go out here and get the job done. I think he gets it done within the first 2 minutes. But if it makes it out of the first round, I wouldn't be surprised. But I think Gable runs him over. This is why the UFC's putting this together. Showcase opportunity for Steveson on a big card. I think he goes out there, lands a big shot, blast double, takes him down, destroys him on the ground with ground and pound, gets him out of there. Gable Steveson, I think he's going to be a problem in the heavyweight division, man. I could see him being a champion at some point. All right, we got Robert Whittaker, the debut of Bobby Knuckles at 205 pounds, taking on Nikita Krylov. I'm excited to see how Bob looks at 205 pounds. I think that this is a great move for Robert Whittaker, and I absolutely love him going up to 205 because what we see at light heavyweight right now is a lot of strikers. And I know that immediately right off the rip, you could say, well, wait a minute. Robert Whittaker is a guy that has brick wall takedown defense outside of against a guy like Khamzat Chimaev, which, again, Khamzat has the answers for just about everybody, right? And he has a serious problem with the grappling, so no harm, no foul there. Robert Whittaker's got brick wall takedown defense, excellent takedowns of his own, and is a methodical striker on the feet. And it could be good for Whittaker in a way because he fits right into a light heavyweight division with predominantly strikers. However, the chin of Robert Whittaker is something that is rather suspect. And now that he's moving up to 205, if he gets hit by some of these bigger, powerful guys, that does have me a little bit worried for Rob, especially as he starts to move up the rankings at 205. But that being said, I think we are about to witness a Robert Whittaker masterclass. I think that Robert Whittaker is going to turn back the hands of time a little bit. And that's not to say that Whittaker didn't look bad in his last fight. I mean, he looked good against Reinier de Ridder, and I picked de Ridder to win this fight, and I thought it could have went either way. He had RDR in all kinds of trouble, man, and RDR is essentially a light heavyweight. And a guy, in my opinion, that is a much better grappler than Nikita Krylov, and a guy that has a much better clinch game than Nikita Krylov, right? Got, dominated by Chimaev, it is what it is, right? Finished finished Ikram Aliskerov, which is a very, very good win. Knocked him out early, getting the job done over Costa. Look how good Costa's looked at light heavyweight. Got finished by DDP. I think Robert Whittaker is going to go out here and find a way to get Nikita Krylov out of there. And I think he finds a late TKO stoppage in this fight. Now, why I'm worried for Whittaker a little bit here. New weight class. I think that lighter man skill is a real thing here. I think Whittaker's going to be a lot faster, a lot sharper. He's good with the in and out movement, but Krylov does have power. And yes, Krylov did get brutally KO'd by Reyes, charged in like an idiot, like Superman, with his chin on a platter, way out of position, got sniped by Krylov, by Reyes. And if he does that in this fight, Robert Whittaker can absolutely land a piston of a shot on him and put him away. Right? Got finished by Bogdan Guskov. And these guys, Reyes does a better job of sliding out of range and countering with sharp shots, right? Where Whittaker, it's kind of him moving forward, pulling you into the left hook, that 1-2 high kick. It's really Whittaker springing into shots that gets you out of there. So I don't know that Whittaker's going to land something like what Dominic Reyes did. And Bogdan Guskov's got crazy power. He can just mow you down and land big shots. Great performance against Bukauskas. I picked him to win this fight considering I think Bukauskas is overrated. Was able to knock him out late. And before the layoff, Krylov looked impressive. He's got a good ground game. He has some good wins, right? Had a competitive fight with Ankalaev, beat Volkan Oezdemir. I think if Nikita Krylov is smart in this fight, he's going to come out here and look to grapple against Robert Whittaker. Now, having said that, I don't think he's going to have success doing it. And outside of him clipping Whittaker with some sort of shot, given that I do have some concerns about, the chin of Robert Whittaker, I think it'll look a little bit better at 205. Even though Krylov has a little bit of a reach advantage and is a little bit taller, he doesn't fight very well from range. He charges into range. I know he was more patient against Bukauskas, but Robert Whittaker, very accurate, very high-level striker. His jab is money. He holds his hands low. It's hard to see where the shots are coming. He's got power in the right hand. He hides that head kick very well. I think that this fight will be kind of competitive. Whittaker will be winning it, though, clearly. Sticking and moving, fighting behind the jab, front kicks up the middle, attacking the lead leg of Krylov. We've seen Whittaker's got really good low kicks as well. I think Nikita is going to really struggle to find Whittaker in this fight. Rob's very fast, darting in and out of range, and outside of Whittaker blitzing in and Krylov catching him with a shot, that's not really Krylov's style. So both of these guys like to dart in with the blitz. I think Whittaker is better when he's not blitzing. He's going to be sharper. He's going to be faster. And I think Krylov will start to slow down in round 3. Whittaker will land that signature 1-2 high kick and ring Krylov, follow him up to the ground with some ground and pound and get him out of there. I got Rob Whittaker getting it done, round 3 KO over Nikita Krylov. If not, he outstrikes him, gets it done. I think we're going to witness a Bob Whittaker masterclass. I think Bobby Knuckles is back in a big way here and puts on a clinic against Nikita Krylov and touches him up and makes it look easy, man. Give me Rob Whittaker here. All right, main card. We got an absolute banger to kick things off. We got Bob King Green versus Terrence McKinney. Now, this is a relatively easy breakdown. I don't need to tell you what this fight's going to look like or how it's going to go. This is either Terrence McKinney, round 1 finish, or he's going to lose this fight and probably get finished by Bob Green. Now, it's not to say that we couldn't see something new from McKinney, and he's more patient and more tactical, and he finds a later finish or something like that, but that's just not how McKinney fights, and that's why the UFC put this together. This is an OG in Bobby Green who's been looking like he's reinvented himself, man. Looking like a prob Bob Green, going out there and beating Lance Gibson, who went out there and beat Chase Hooper and finished him. Right, so Bob Green put on a great performance, right? Knocked out Daniel Zellhuber, which was very impressive. Destroyed Jeremy Stephens a month ago, right? And I think that this is big, a 3-fight win streak. He's got a ton of momentum, and I know he's about to be 40, but that speed has went nowhere. The fight IQ of Bob Green has went nowhere. He's elusive. He's slippery on the feet, right? And the guys that are finishing him are Paddy Pimblett, who's an excellent grappler who's very durable, has got those string bean long-range shots, right? And then getting knocked out by Mauricio Rufy, and it's like, Mauricio Rufy's one of the most dangerous strikers in all of the UFC, right? Seeing what he's been able to do. In order to beat Bob Green, you got to catch him early or you got to set him up with a nasty shot. Terrence McKinney absolutely could go out here and just mow down Bob Green, and I do have concerns about the chin of Bob Green. This is Terrence McKinney finishes him early or Bob Green's winning the fight. I actually think that Bob King Green is going to win, and I think that he is going to submit Terrence McKinney in the second round. Now, obviously, this is a coin flip fight. We know how McKinney is. He comes out there like a bat out of hell. I have concerns about Green's chin, But I also, by the same token, don't believe that Green is going to make the same mistakes as a lot of the guys that Terrence McKinney is beating. Damir Hadzovic, no footwork, just stood there, right? Vyacheslav Borshov, just stood there, right? Kyle Nelson, just stood there, right? If you look at guys like Duncan that can move and weather a storm, which I don't think that King Green is as durable as a guy like Chris Duncan, and Duncan doesn't have good footwork. He was able to weather the storm and get it done. Esteban Rivovics was able to land a nasty head kick. I think Bob Green is the much sharper boxer. I think Bob Green, I've been saying for years, his ground game is criminally underrated. He's got a sensational ground game to where I think as long as he does not get finished early, this is Bob Green all day long, man. He's the sharper boxer. He's got excellent kicks as well, and he's very elusive. So to say that, yeah, McKinney's fast and he's a younger guy and he's super explosive, yeah, he could spring into range, catch Green with a left hand, put him away, hurt him, rock him, jump on a submission, a guillotine, and put Bob Green out, of course. And if that's how McKinney wins, that's how I see McKinney winning. But if that doesn't happen, McKinney's going to be tired. Bob Green can outbox him on the feet, knock him out, and then he can also hurt him on the feet and end up submitting him. And I think Bob Green, if he's a smart approach here, would be almost like when Green's marching you down, level change on him. Because I know that McKinney's a very, very good grappler, but if you can get into a grappling entanglement to where I think Green could stay safe very early if he's not rocked and they're just grappling back and forth, I think Green can hang with them. And then that would absolutely burn the gas tank of T-Rex. And then as soon as, they get back to the feet, McKinney would be labored, and we've seen, yes, McKinney is explosive. Yes, he looks like a top 5 lightweight for the first 2 minutes. But outside of that, he doesn't look like a ranked fighter outside of those couple minutes, man. And Bob Green, he looks like a ranked fighter to me at this point. He's slick, he's elusive, and as long as he doesn't get clipped with a big shot, and if he does, if he can survive and bob and weave, I think that he can get the job done. I think he's the smarter fighter. I think he's more of a dog. And I think that his ground game is criminally underrated. And unless he gets rocked, that's the only way I see McKinney submitting him. So as long as Bob doesn't get rocked, and even if he does, if he can survive, this is a hard fight to predict, man, because it's a coin flip fight. It's an easy breakdown because we know how it's going to go, but it's a question of which result do you see actually happening. I'm going to side with the resurging Bob King Green. I think he goes out there, weathers an early storm. I think he should look to grapple early against McKinney, wear on him a little bit, stay elusive, try to sting him with a big shot. We saw, Green tag Grant Dawson with a big shot early and put him away in the first round. I think Green is the better fighter. I think he's slicker. I think he's got better footwork, and I think he's more well-rounded, and a guy that we've seen has that dog in him, and the guys that are putting him away are Jalen Turners, Mauricio Rufis. We saw him have a great back and forth with Rafael Fiziev, who's an outstanding striker. So this is, can Green deal with that early sprint of McKinney? And if he can't, he gets finished early. If not, I think he wins this fight all day long. I'm going to side with the fact that I think he makes it through the storm and then stings up McKinney, melts him with the boxing, tags him with some big shots, and ends up clubbing and subbing him. Give me Bob Green second round sub over Terrence McKinney. This is going to be a banger, man. Next, we got Brandon Royval versus Lonnie Kavanagh. Sensational fight. You got a guy that I've been saying is part of the big three in the flyweight division. And the big three is Brandon Royval, Brandon Moreno, and Alexandre Pantoja. Guys that have been around at the top of the flyweight division for years now. That's Brandon Royval. He's been in there with the best of the best. He's almost 34, 5'9", 68-inch reach. He's going to have a 1-inch reach advantage, a 5-inch height advantage over Kavanagh. And it's interesting because Royval is a southpaw. And I'm curious to see how Kavanagh approaches Royval in this fight, considering we haven't seen since Kavanagh's been in the UFC, Brandon Moreno, an orthodox style of opponent. Charles Johnson, a guy that switches, right? So him going in here against a southpaw that's very, very high level in Royval, who's got a great straight left hand down the middle and moves and has a lot of footwork. It's going to be interesting to see how Kavanagh deals with the puzzle. I know that Royval's coming off of 2 losses, right? Got boxed up by Joshua Van. It was a competitive fight. Got knocked out by Manel Kape brutally, and we know how dangerous Manel Kape is. I've been saying he's the most dangerous 125er we've ever seen. I'm not counting out Royval in this fight. He's lanky. He's got good footwork, a ton of experience, and we have seen Lonnie Kavanagh. You can get to him at moments. But I believe that Lonnie Kavanagh's loss, right, again, one of the best bases for MMA, especially in the flyweight division, is to get knocked out brutally by Charles Johnson earlier in your career, because then you end up bouncing back and becoming a champion. Look at Josh Van. Right, Lonnie Kavanagh, to me, is one of the most impressive fighters in the UFC right now. This dude had a nasty KO on the Contender Series with a brutal left hook, beat Jose Ochoa, and how good is that when aged? And that's a fellow southpaw who's got dynamite in his hands. beat Felipe dos Santos, who's very, very scrappy and well-rounded, got knocked out by Johnson, but in a fight that I thought Kavanagh looked really good up until he started to slow down and got clipped. This performance against Brandon Moreno is one of the most impressive performances I believe that we have ever seen in the UFC. This is a guy that was supposed to be fighting, I think, a month later than when that fight happened. They pulled him from that, put him on that card against Brandon Moreno in a 5-round main event at Elevation. A fight before you showed signs of fatigue, and then you came back about 6 months later. Your cardio's never looked better. You fought at Elevation against the best opponent of your entire career, and not only did he beat Brandon Moreno, he beat the brakes off of him. Outsmarted him. Stuck and move. He looked like the veteran. He looked like the guy that had a million fights in the UFC. He looked like the guy that was a former world champion. Lonnie Kavanagh, he's the shit. This guy is the X factor. He's a special talent, and I believe that he is one of the best strikers and most methodical fighters in all of the UFC. I think he puts on another clinic once again, this time against Brandon Royval. I think he gets it done by a decision. I'm going to say 30-27 Lonnie Kavanagh, and I would not be surprised whatsoever if he knocks out Royval in this fight. I think this is the most vulnerable Brandon has been in his career. Getting boxed up by Joshua Van, got dropped badly in that fight, got knocked out by Benoit Saint Denis, and how long ago was that? 6 months ago. What's his confidence going to be like? Is his confidence going to be there? Is he going to be moving the same way? Is he going to, be as willing to get into the pocket and exchange, right? And I know Royval's been in there with the best of the best, right? He's been in there and beaten Brandon Moreno in a close one. I thought Moreno won this fight, but either way, it was close, right? Tatsuro Taira was able to dog it out against one of the best grapplers in the weight class, right? Lost to Pantoja. Like, the guys that Royval loses to are the best of the best in this weight class. The reality is, I think Lonnie Kavanagh is the best of the best in this weight class. I think that his shot selection is excellent. Against a southpaw here, we're going to see him try to throw that check hook around the lead shoulder of Royval, the straight right hand down the middle. It's an open stance battle, so the rear kick for both guys is going to be available to the body, trying to set up high kicks. I think Lonnie Kavanagh is faster. He's got better boxing, and his takedown defense has looked outstanding, to where his takedown defenses look really good, but if he gets into some grappling entanglements with Royval, that's where things could get a little dicey, because we have seen that Royval does have a very good submission game. But I think Kavanagh stops the takedowns. He's got beautiful boxing, excellent timing. He'll pull Royval in the shots all day long. I think he outthinks, outsmarts, and outcrafts Royval in the feet, bangs him up, drops him, hurts him, and puts on yet another clinic, like we saw against Moreno, this time against another OG of the flyweight division in Brandon Royval. I'm all in on Lonnie Kavanagh. I think this dude's for real. His striking is excellent. His timing, he's only getting better. He's 27. And going out there and doing what he did at Elevation, where his cardio looked excellent, so now the cardio is no longer a concern. You do that to Brandon Moreno. I mean, that was just unbelievably impressive. Unbelievably impressive. I don't think people are giving him enough praise for that performance. I think he goes out here, International Fight Week, UFC 329, and beats the brakes off of Brandon Royval. And where Royval have moments, I think Lonnie Kavanagh is going to be a step ahead. The right hand is going to be a piston. The check hook around the guard, his head movement, the way he slides out of range and is right there to be countered, just slips out of the way just enough to be able to counter and land his big shots. The speed will be a big factor. I think Kavanagh bangs him up and gets this one done with relative ease. I like Lonnie Kavanagh a lot. I think he's an X-Factor fighter and a special talent in the flyweight division. I'm all in on Lonnie Kavanagh. I think he puts on a clinic against Brandon Royval. And his name's then going to be in the hat for fighting for the flyweight title. This division's stacked right now, man. Love flyweight. Next up, we got Cory Sandhagen versus Mario Bautista 2. This feels like a real coin flip fight. This feels like a coin flip fight, man, because I see both sides of the argument here, right? Mario Bautista has clearly improved a lot since the first time fighting Cory Sandhagen. You could say that if, who's made the bigger improvements? I would probably say that Mario has. But that's not to say that Cory hasn't made improvements of his own. And what I love about Cory Sandhagen is the fact that he's working with Trevor Whitman, number one. And number two, Cory is one of the smartest fighters of all time. This guy has excellent fight IQ. He's a meticulous preparer. And Cory Sandhagen is unbelievably well-rounded. And I believe that he is more dynamic than Mario Bautista. And for me, that's ultimately what I think this fight is going to come down to. I think that Mario Bautista has a very dangerous submission game. I think his his grappling overall has gotten much better since the first time that these guys fought. And I think that his striking, in particular the boxing, has gotten a lot sharper since the first time that they fought. I think this is going to be a close fight. I think this is going to be 29-28. I could see a split decision. I could see this fight going either way. But I'm going to favor Cory Sandhagen to get this one done on the scorecards. And I know that Mario Bautista, right, he's got some momentum on his side, right? He's been rattling off some nice wins, beating Ricky Simone, Aldo in a close one, pushing him up against the fence to where he became public enemy number one, right? Goes out there and beats Patchy Mix. We picked him here to outbox him. But look, I mean, Patchy Mix looked horrible in the UFC all around. He just looked terrible. Right, his striking is awful. He's got no movement, and Bautista was able to easily outstrike him, so it was impressive, but Cory Sandhagen would destroy Patchy Mix, right? Umar Nurmagomedov landed a big shot on him, but outside of that, I mean, I know he was a scrambly rascal on the ground, putting up a good fight against Umar, but Umar Nurmagomedov, one of the best bantamweights that we've seen, man. So, again, no harm, no foul. And then coming off of a brilliant performance against Vinny Oliveira to where we picked him here by submission, and he just showed levels, right? Oliveira's gas tank was dog shit. Oliveira was a guy that, looked good in his last performance at 145 against Andre Fili, which I think is a much better weight class for Vinny Oliveira. But Bautista had an edge there. The more technical striker, the smarter fighter, the more well-rounded guy. To where I trouble to see Bautista out-grappling Cory Sandhagen for 15 minutes. Could he do it? Sure. I think Bautista is a very good grappler. He's got good submission skills to where maybe he could catch Cory in some sort of scramble and find a submission. Maybe Bautista's boxing has just gotten so good to where he could go out there and stick and move and strike Cory Sandhagen. I just, in my opinion, I kind of have a hard time seeing that, man. I feel like if someone's getting outstruck, it's going to be Cory Sandhagen outstriking Mario Bautista. Cory Sandhagen's got excellent footwork. He's very elusive. He's got really good leg kicks. He can switch stances. He can give you multiple different looks. I think his boxing has looked better than ever from working with Trevor Whitman. The jab is popping. He's got excellent low kicks. He's got that dangerous flying knee that Mario absolutely has to be careful for. And I think that Sandhagen has an excellent ground game to where he can go toe-to-toe with Mario in the grappling. Right? When you look at Sandhagen, the guys that he loses to are the best in the world in this weight class as well. Both guys lose to the best guys in the world, right? And this was not a split decision. This was total domination over Vera, right? Dominated Rob Font, was able to take him down. Cory had some boring performances, to be honest, where he was just kind of wet blanketing guys, right? Did lose to Umar, but Umar had a hard time keeping him down. Was scrambling back to the feet, had some moments on the feet, right? Got in the 50-50 with Figueiredo. Figueiredo hurt his knee, right? Coming off of the loss to Merab, to where Cory Sandhagen put up a heck of a fight, right? Got hurt badly by Merab, but again, Merab, with the feinting of the level, changes the wrestling. You're opened up to being caught on the feet. Cory Sandhagen at 34. I do think he's a little bit more vulnerable than he was a few years ago, but I got to favor Cory here, man. I feel like his leg kicks are going to be a massive weapon. I think he can attack the lead legs of Bautista, be more active than him on the feet. I think these guys kind of go back and forth, tit for tat in the grappling, to where we're going to see some crazy, exciting, and well-rounded scrambles where you're going to see Bautista shoot a takedown. Cory's going to roll. He's going to transition, get on top. Bautista will get out from underneath of him. Like, I think this is going to be like a fight nerds, high-level X's and O's. Like, did you see Sandhagen versus Bautista? The techniques, the scrambles, that's going to be this fight. Don't know how exciting it's going to be, but it's going to be very back and forth, very high level. I got to side with Cory Sandhagen. He's very dynamic. I've seen this guy land big shots on TJ Dillashaw. I think a prime Dillashaw, even a Dillashaw that fought Sandhagen at the time, is a more dynamic striker than Bautista. While Bautista's ground game is very good and his striking has looked improved, I still think Cory's a better striker. He's got more tools on the feet, and I think on the ground, if anything, it cancels out. That's why I got to side with Cory Sandhagen. I think it's a competitive fight. I'm going Cory Sandhagen. I think he can mix it up. If anybody's out grappling anybody, I could potentially see Sandhagen's wrestling being a little bit better than Bautista, but Bautista I don't think will get held down. He'll scramble back, and if Bautista takes down Sandhagen, Sandhagen will work back to the feet. I think it plays out in the striking, and I'm going to go Sandhagen to pick and poke with the boxing and land some leg kicks from range. And of course, Bautista's got to be very careful of that flying knee of Cory Sandhagen. And Sandhagen's got nasty elbows in close, right? The elbow he landed on Song Yadong. Sandhagen's well-rounded. I think he's got more tools in the toolbox. I think he's got the fight IQ on his side. I think he's going to come in here after running over Bautista back in, I think it was, 2019 via armbar round one. I don't think it's going to go down like that, but I do think Cory will be a step ahead in this fight to get it done in a split decision, 29-28. Give me Sandhagen. All right, next up, we got the co-main event. We got Benoit Saint Denis versus Paddy Pimblett. Now, I made a video talking about how I think that this is a 50-50 fight, and I still feel that way. I feel like this is a fight to where I could just see it going so many ways. There's the route of BSD's just a level ahead of, a level above Paddy. You know, kind of gets the technical brawling going, hurts Paddy, bangs him up, utilizes his wrestling, takes him down, beats him up on the ground, gets him out of there with some ground and pound, softens him up, finds a submission, outdogs him, wins a decision, right? I think all results are on the table for BSD of winning this fight, but I also feel the same way about Paddy. I think Paddy could go out here and stick and move and outstrike BSD. I think Paddy could come out here and sweep Benoit Saint Denis from bottom and put Benoit on his back. And we've seen Benoit has a ton of problems when he's on his back, right? And we've seen Paddy, he's got excellent jiu-jitsu. I think he's got better jiu-jitsu than BSD, right? I could see Paddy finding a submission. I could see him outscoring BSD. This is a competitive fight. I think that this is a very intriguing fight. And I think it's one of those fights where MMA math, it's just one of those things where styles make fights. And I think both guys are very, very bad on the feet when it comes to the defense. Benoit Saint Denis charges forward with, he doesn't move his head at all. His chin is on a platter. His boxing defense is basically non-existent, but he's got good offense. He's got power in that left hand, power in the right hand. He throws an excellent kick to the body, throws the high kick as well. I think that that's going to be a big weapon here, considering Paddy likes to be, out of that orthodox stance. We see him kind of switch back and forth, but that kick to the body, I think, is going to be a big shot for BSD in this fight, to work and attack the body of Pimblett, to slow him down, try to break him down. The problem I see for BSD in this fight is I think, weirdly, Paddy is the better striker. I think that BSD has more power, but I think Paddy is more variety. I think his knee up the middle is going to be a big weapon here. That Looney Tunes uppercut of where Saint Denis just kind of comes crashing forward with his head right on the center line. I think Paddy would be wise to try to time a knee on the way in. BSD shoots with his head on the outside on that hip to where I could absolutely see Paddy locking in some sort of guillotine. I could see him getting into a front headlock position and locking in a submission. I think on the feet, Paddy's more dynamic. That loss to Justin Gaethje, right? I know he got whooped pretty good in that fight, but seeing what Gaethje just did to Elia, like I've said before, I would pick Gaethje to knock out BSD. That's why I picked Poirier to knock out BSD, because his boxing defense is horrendous, right? And then after that fight, he got dominated and butchered on the ground by Moicano, and we've seen, I know Moicano's good, but BSD, he's like a turtle on his back, man. He's like on a shell. He like can't get up off the ground. He's like helpless on his back. And I know he's on a nice win streak, dominating Prepelec. The win over Roofy's aged very well, but I feel like if you run that back, Roofy probably wins, right? In my opinion. Knocks out Dariush. Dariush has got no chin, man, right? And then gets it done over Dan Hooker. And I've been picking, BSD in a lot of these fights. Had some trouble with the range of Dan Hooker. The front kicks to the body were a big weapon, right? Was able to get him out of there with ground and pound. And yeah, it was impressive. Paddy Pimblett, say what you want about the guy. He's durable as hell. His jiu-jitsu is excellent. And while his striking doesn't look pretty, it's effective. It's effective. And I know, I don't think he beat Jared Gordon. I get it. Kind of going life and death to a degree with an old Tony Ferguson. Not a great look. This was impressive against Bob Green. He beat the heck out of Michael Chandler. Was landing some good shots on Gaethje. If you're landing on Gaethje, you're landing on BSD. I'm going to pick Paddy Pimblett to win this fight, and I think he gets it done by a decision, but I very much could see him locking in a submission, especially if Benoit starts to slow down. We've seen that he's very aggressive, and a lot of Saint Denis fights, they don't go the distance. It's either him or you. And I don't think Paddy is a Dustin Poirier. I don't think that he has that type of power and that type of, striking to be able to make BSD pay too much in terms of the power to be able to sting him, but I think that knee up the middle can hurt BSD. Right, I don't think Paddy has a ton of power in his hands, right? They're kind of slappy, whippy, weird Looney Tune shots, right? But I think that front kick up the middle, if I'm Paddy, I'm watching what Dan Hooker did. Front kicks to the body. And Paddy Pimblett is not I know his game plan wasn't the best against Gaethje, but a lot of that was because Gaethje just fought a great fight. But if I'm Paddy Pimblett, I'm going, listen, man, this dude's going to shoot with his head on the outside hip most likely, and even if he has it on the waistline, right on the belly button area, Paddy can then threaten with a ninja choke. There's things that Paddy can do to kind of get BSD up off of him. And I know that BSD has power, but he's stiff on the feet, man. Both guys have bad striking defense. I think Paddy, weirdly enough, is better on the feet. I think he is. I know his chin's on a platter. Saint Denis is not some sort of high-level striker to where he can really walk you into shots and set you up. I think his wrestling is better than Paddy, but I think Paddy has a better submission game and is also a better jiu-jitsu player than BSD. So how I see this fight going, BSD comes out like a bat out of hell. And I know he's, coached by Nicholas Ott, and I think that that's done wonders for him, right? Comes in with a better game plan. I think he's well coached with Nicholas Ott. They come in with a much more tactical approach. BSD will move forward, try to land big shots around the guard, and tag that chin that is going to be up in the air from Paddy Pimblett. But I think Paddy's going to be stabbing front kicks to the midsection, throwing those uppercuts that were landing on Gaethje, the right hand over the top, kicks to the body, right? It's going to be that open stance, orthodox versus southpaw battle. If I'm Pimblett, rip into the midsection, tagging, BSD as he's moving forward, which I think he will, right from the bell, looking to make this ugly, not allow Pimblett to utilize the range from the outside. Even though they have the same reach, Paddy's the guy that kind of fights better at range, right, in terms of the long tools. I think the uppercut, the knee up the middle, and ripping shots to the body are what's going to do it for Paddy Pimblett in this fight, and I think that he's going to be able to put BSD on his back in moments. BSD's a better wrestler. Paddy's got better jiu-jitsu, and I don't think BSD, he's got good top control, good ground and pound, but what comes with that, when you're starting to try to let go of the ground and pound, that allows Pimblett to move. It allows him to create space, allows him to get to some of these sweeps. I think Pimblett can sweep, get off the bottom, put BSD on his back, win minutes, beat him up with some ground and pound, possibly even find a submission in this fight. Paddy's tough as hell, man. Say what you want about the guy. I know at one point it felt like he was an industry plant. He's a dog. He's got grit. I know BSD does as well. Both of these guys are savages. I think it's going to be a head-on collision, but I'm going to side with Paddy Pimblett. Long front kicks, right to the midsection, kicks to the body, uppercut, knee. Utilize your jiu-jitsu when the fight hits the deck. Threaten with submissions to keep BSD off of you, discourage the wrestling, and pick him apart from the outside. I'm going to go Paddy Pimblett to outstrike and outscore Benoit Saint Denis. It's one of those things, man, where yes, Saint Denis look good. No, well, he beat Rufy, so do you think Rufy beats Pimblett? No, I think Rufy would beat Pimblett. Styles make fights. People forget, man, Paddy Pimblett has excellent jiu-jitsu skills, and I think that can help him in this fight against BSD. You never know, man. BSD can march him down, land some big shots, and out-damage him, control him, find a way to get him out of there. I don't think so. I think Paddy will have the answers for what Benoit brings to the table. And I think Gaethje, much better striker than Pimblett. BSD, a lot more hittable than Gaethje. I think Paddy, this is almost in a way a tough fight, but one that stylistically is a good one for him to go out here and get a big win at International Fight Week, UFC 329. Big spotlight, big win for Paddy. BSD's looked really good. I think he's been a lot better since training with Nicholas Ott. They come in with more tactical approaches. They're going to look to pressure Pimblett, land those big shots, kind of like what Gaethje did, the kicks to the body. Benoit's got a good kick. He's way too hittable. I think Paddy can match him in the grappling, put him in some trouble, and then use those string bean shots from range to slow down Saint Denis by going to the body. Give me Paddy by decision. Last but not least, we've arrived at the main event of the evening. Conor McGregor back after 5 years away, coming off of a catastrophic leg injury against Dustin Poirier in the trilogy, fighting Max Holloway in 2026. These guys fought back in 2013 where Conor McGregor hurt his knee. I believe it was in the second round, was able to beat Holloway by decision, was, outstriking him on the feet, mixing in some takedowns. It was really a well-rounded fight from McGregor that got the job done. And obviously, I think it's safe to say that was a tadpole Holloway, but to be fair, also a tadpole McGregor. But I will say, Conor, to me, was further along in his career at the time than Max was in terms of their overall skill development. Now, having said that, I don't know how much we could take from that fight because it was light years ago. Now, having said that, I do actually think that there are some things that we could take from that first fight, considering Max Holloway's footwork is much better than what it was the first time that these guys fought. And Holloway was actually doing a great job attacking the lead leg of Conor McGregor. And I know you might say, well, wait a minute, it's an open stance battle. Right? McGregor's a southpaw. Holloway's an orthodox style of fighter. Watch that first fight back. Holloway was blitzing in with the right hand and following up with a leg kick. He was doing a great job getting after the legs of Conor McGregor. 100%. Where I think the reason is maybe there's not so much we could take from that fight because I think Holloway's gotten a lot better. I think McGregor doesn't move necessarily the way he does, he did back then, but I think he hits harder now than he does then or did then. But that style of approach that Holloway had, right, kind of trying to time Conor with the right hand on the way in, mixing up the low kicks, those are things that Holloway is going to look to do in this fight. And I think McGregor, just like he did in the first fight, is going to look to pressure the heck out of Max Holloway. I really, really want to pick Conor to win this fight because I think that it would be great for the sport to see Conor come back, get a big win over Max Holloway, and it would be like we all get to sing Kumbaya and live in lollipop land and be like McGregor goes out there and he marches down Holloway and McGregor's going to come out, the foggy dew, and he's going to do the walk, and it's going to be like, oh, man, and he's, Buffer, the one, the only. It's going to be this crazy thing, man. But the reality is as much of a chance as I actually believe McGregor has, I think that he has a lot more of a shot to get this done than a lot of people are giving him credit for. I have to stand by what I say about specifically mixed martial arts. You can't be 1 foot in and 1 foot out. You just can't do it. Max Holloway has not been 1 foot in and 1 foot out. He's been in the game constantly. He's been in the game motivated the entire time. He's a guy that's been in here fighting the best guys in the world, winning the BMF belt against Justin Gaethje, putting up a great performance until he got KO'd against Ilia Topuria, right? Okay, so what? He got taken down and dominated by Oliveira, the most dangerous fighter of all time, one of the best grapplers ever. A guy that's going out here and, having competitive fights with Volkanovski, at least the first two. I mean, all that Holloway has done in the time that McGregor has been away. I know the Volkanovski fights were a long time ago. It's like Max has been in the guy getting the reps. Right, look at his past 5 fights. In there against the Korean Zombie, right? Then goes up, beautiful performance against Gaethje. Right, Ilia Topuria looked good until he got KO'd. Right, beat up on Dustin Poirier, man. Got dropped in round 2, which we'll talk about in a second. But he looked really good in this fight. Sticking and moving, his footwork was excellent, right? In the Oliveira fight, he got stung up on the feet, which, was the pressure of Oliveira that was giving him some problems. And Charles is dangerous on the feet, but it was the grappling of Oliveira. Oliveira would get to the body lock, take him down. It was impressive that Max didn't even get submitted because he got taken down over and over and over again. But the reality is, the most least likely thing that I see in this fight is Conor McGregor coming out here and controlling Max Holloway with grappling for 25 minutes. That would absolutely blow me out of the water. That to me is the most least likely outcome in this entire fight, in my opinion, is McGregor going out here and doing what Oliveira did. I don't think that happens. But I will say this. I think Conor's got a lot more of a shot than what people want to give him. I think that styles make fights. Conor's been away for 5 years. You could say he's coming off of a crazy injury, the titanium shin bone. And McGregor's out here saying, I'm going to come out unscathed. You're not going to lay a glove on me. And even if you do lay a glove on me, I'm going to laugh in your face. Like Conor is kind of getting back to who he was, right? The trash talk, trying to build up the confidence. But I feel like in a way Conor's trying to pump himself up, man, because you heard him say in the interviews like, Max hasn't gotten better. And I think to a degree there's some truth to what Conor's saying in terms of Max is very similar to the fighter that he was the first time around in terms of the techniques, the same shot selections. But Max has gotten a lot better defensively with the footwork, the elusiveness, and we've seen him moving up to 155. The power has been different. Now, the big factor here, it's 170 pounds. And I believe that to a degree that favors Conor. He's a guy that's fought in this weight class before, against Nate Diaz twice, against Donald Cerrone, to where his power has looked good in those weight classes. And people are like, oh, well, the gas tank of McGregor, it's been a problem. He was beating the shit out of Nate Diaz and just beat him up so bad that he got tired doing it. Right? And then against Nate, he's durable as hell. Right? And then McGregor's gas tank against, Khabib Nurmagomedov, it's like Khabib's the most dominant force of all time. Right, this performance was almost 10 years ago, man, how the time flies. McGregor's never looked better than what he did. One of the greatest, not the greatest performance of all time against Eddie Alvarez. Right, got subbed by Khabib Nurmagomedov after the time away. He boxed Floyd, came back, ran over Donald Cerrone, crazy performance. Looked really good until he didn't against Poirier, got stopped. The calf kicks were a problem. The broken leg here, it says broken ankle, whatever, you know what I'm talking about. Conor McGregor's path to victory in this fight is to show Max Holloway's game zero respect. If Conor McGregor comes out here like a bat out of hell, foot on the gas, gets in the face of Holloway, pressures the hell out of him early, and looks to snipe him and put him into the phone booth, push him up against the fence, show him that this is 170 pounds. Like if McGregor comes with that attitude and bullies, he's like, I'm going to bully Holloway. I'm going to push him into the fence. I'm going to land those shoulder shots. I'm going to knee him to the body. I'm going to slice him up open with some elbows. I'm going to utilize my physicality advantage. I'm the guy that's been out of the game, right, and taking some stuff, right? He's been on some sauce, right? So I think that his frame has changed over the years, right? He's looking like he's got a little bit older. I think Conor McGregor is going to be hitting hard, but I don't know that the elusiveness is going to be there. And if you're not going to be elusive and you don't put away Holloway in the first couple rounds, Conor's gas tank, to me, while I think the gas tank thing is a little bit blown out of proportion, Max Holloway historically is a guy that has great output, great volume, and a great gas tank, and a will that you got to put Holloway away. You just got to put him away, or you got to neutralize him for 25 like Charles did, and that's the only time we've seen it. I got to go Max Holloway. I got to go Holloway. I gotta lean with the guy that's been in the game, man, and I do believe in exactly what I was saying before McGregor did the interview. I think there's some pros for McGregor. It's at 170. He's had the layoff to where he's been partying, doing all kinds of stuff, and he's been in trouble, all that stuff. I think it's taken a toll on McGregor's body, man, and it's taken a toll on him mentally. But I do think he's locked in for this. And I think that early on, we're going to be oohing and ahhing. I think McGregor is going to ping Max Holloway around early. I think he's going to land a big left hand. I think he's going to throw that left hand and jump in with that little springy lead hand uppercut. I think he's going to batter, Holloway with some kicks to the midsection, that teep, that excellent kick to the body that we've seen in some sparring right back on The Ultimate Fighter. Even, I don't know if it was recent or a year or so ago where he's landing that kick to the liver. Like, I think Holloway is going to get battered early. Like, I think Conor's going to land some big shots. But dude, 5 years away. And I know styles make fights, and I do think that Holloway is more vulnerable than he was a few years ago. He's taken a ton of damage, and he got dropped by Gaethje, got buzzed a few times by Oliveira, got dropped by Poirier in the rematch. Those are all active fighters that are at the top of the game, man, that have been in the game. And I know, listen, you talk about the NFL, Phillip Rivers at 44 came off the couch and was showing people how it's done and was absolutely bawling out of his mind. And, it's like, well, he didn't throw a football for how long and he came back. So I'm not saying if anyone can do this, it's McGregor. 5 years away, motivating yourself to come back. He's locked in. He's ready to go. Holloway's been motivated and locked in the whole time, man. That's the reality. And I think McGregor's going to have a ton of success early. Right, and I think that 170 in a way does favor him because I know you could say, well, wait a minute, isn't that just going to make Max more durable? Isn't that just going to help his gas tank even more? And I think all of that is possible, but I also think it's possible that slows down Max. It makes his gas tank a little bit worse, makes his output a little lower, to where that can allow McGregor to battle back into the fight. Maybe this does go the full 25 and we get like a crazy war, which would be awesome. Maybe McGregor does go out here and pull off the unthinkable. Comes out here, puts Holloway on his heels. If you watch the first fight back and you watch Conor, when he's putting his foot on the gas and pressuring the heck out of you, which he's good, dude, I'm telling you, Conor's going to come back and act like nothing happened. He's going to come out, throw some sort of head kick, a wild spinning attack right at the referee's going to say go. He's going to take the center and try to bully Max right away, which to me is the smart approach. Put Holloway in the clinch, wear on him, beat him up, show him that this is your weight class and you are not here to mess around, and try to damage Holloway up as much as you can. Try to cut him open, try to bang him up as early as possible in this fight to where McGregor can then start to ping at him from range. And if Conor does that, I think he's got a shot to win. The front kicks to the midsection, takes some wind out of the sail. We saw Alex Pineda move up to heavyweight. To me, looked slower. His cardio didn't look that great. I know that, Gon was just able to walk him into a shot, and I understand it. We see fighters move up and they have a technicality advantage, but we also see guys move up and they look a little bit slower. So I have some questions about what's Max going to look like at 170. We haven't seen it. We moved up to 55 and filled out. He looked huge. His power was different. The speed was still there. The elusiveness. I just feel like it's going to be one of those things where McGregor may win the first round, the second round, but at some point, you're going to see Holloway not go away, and if some guy's going to bite down on the mouthpiece and be able to dog it out, which is what I think this fight's going to come down to, I got to go with the guy that I have seen do it time and time again recently, and that is Max Holloway. And I think Max Holloway's biggest weapons in this fight are going to be attacking the lead leg of McGregor, throwing that, because it's going to be an open stance battle. I know Holloway will switch southpaw, bang that little lead leg kick, throw those combinations to attack the lead leg of McGregor, and start to give him flashbacks to when Poirier was drilling that calf, because that is the one weakness that we've seen from Conor, other than when people talk about him fatiguing in the cardio, is attacking the lead leg. Take away his base. And I feel like it's one of those things where Conor may look great in training, and I think he's going to look great at the start. Once Holloway tags him with a big shot, I think we're going to see the demeanor of Conor change a little bit. I think he's going to be a little bit more hesitant. And like I said, you're saying, wait a minute, Jake, you're saying don't respect his game. Yeah, because he's been away for forever. And I think that he's going to suffer a big adrenaline dump. I think that Conor can come out here and look to take advantage of Holloway early, because we've seen that Max is a guy that likes to get a feel for the fight and get it going. Right? We saw him hurt Poirier bad early in their fight, though. I think Holloway's going to look to attack the leg of McGregor, throw the kicks to the body, threaten some high kicks as well to bang up that left arm of McGregor to take away some sting in that left hand. He's going to try to throw that little wide left hook to get McGregor to cover up, to find a home for the right hand down the middle. I think it's going to be one of those things where McGregor is going to look really good early. I think we're going to be like, whoa, he's not washed. Look at this. He's pinging Holloway around. Whoa, did you see that? The head kick, it landed. Holloway's stung. McGregor's marching him down. McGregor, big left hand, jumping in with the uppercut. He's going to be pinging Holloway around. But Holloway will survive. And I think that McGregor, being out of the game for a while, he's going to be in a position where it looks like maybe he can finish Holloway, but with the adrenaline dump, being away for a while, he's going to mismanage himself. He's going to use a ton of energy. Max is not going to be put away, and that's where you're going to see Max start to battle back into the fight. Round 1, McGregor. Round 2 will be close. Conor might get it, but it's going to be a lot closer. Holloway's starting to battle back. And in round 3, those hands of McGregor are going to start to come down. The kicks of Holloway have started to irritate Conor. And then you're going to see Holloway start to tag him up with the boxing. He's going to land a right hand on him, sit him down. McGregor will kind of back up to the fence. Holloway will start to kind of let those video game combos go. Conor will cover up along the fence, and the referee will have to step in and stop the fight. I don't think Holloway puts him out, cold. But I do think he's going to get some sort of TKO stoppage in this fight. But, man, I've been saying I have this weird feeling. But I feel like, in a way, I'm living in lollipop land picking McGregor to get it done. Like I said, I think it would be great to see McGregor win. I'm kind of hoping that he could. I like Max. I like both of these guys, man. I love watching these guys fight, especially Holloway. Legend of the game. McGregor, a legend of the game. The biggest star we've ever had. It just feels like 2 fights left on his deal. What's the UFC's angle? Are they trying to get Conor a win? Or did they look at this and say, what's a kryptonite matchup for McGregor? A guy that's got durability, volume, output, newfound power at a heavier weight class, can take a shot, and has a great gas tank to be able to outlast McGregor. So I guess you got to ask yourself, which is it? But I think McGregor will put his foot on the gas, back Holloway up early, land some big shots. He'll hurt Max, but then he won't get him out of there. Holloway will battle back. McGregor will start to slow down. The adrenaline dump will come a little bit into play, and we know how this game goes. The guys that are busy, the guys that are active, that are being in there with the elite opposition, month after month, every few months, couple times a year, it's hard not to favor a guy like that over a dude who at one point in the prime of his career, Conor McGregor, one of the best fighters of all time, one of the best strikers of all time, one of the most creative, one of my favorite guys to watch, man. But we've seen throughout the years, McGregor, he's been in the karate stance, the boxing stance, right? Very boxing heavy against Poirier, right? Had some moments early, but it's one of those things where McGregor can be the hammer early. But the minute he starts to become the nail, it all starts to fade. But like I said, Holloway to me is the most vulnerable he's been in his career. I know he's historically very durable. The only guy to knock him out was Topuria, and I predicted Topuria to do so. We've seen him dropped in a lot of these fights recently. We've seen him stung up. I think McGregor's going to come in with some power, with confidence. He's going to look for a point to prove. He's almost 38 years of age. He's been away for a while. It would be absolutely insane, and I think that it would be the greatest UFC win of all time, the craziest comeback we've seen. To come back after 5 years away and take out an elite guy in Holloway. Holloway had some good moments in the first fight, and I know Conor got hurt in that fight. I don't know that Conor's as good as he once was back then, obviously. I think maybe he'll have some power, more power for sure in this weight class. He's the guy with experience here. I got questions about Max's cardio, his output at 170. But I feel like in a way, it's going to help with the durability. McGregor will have success early, and then Holloway will start to take over. It'll still be competitive, but he's going to find a home for that right hand at some point and touch that chin of McGregor and put him in some trouble. I'd love for this to be a good back and forth, go the full 25. Maybe McGregor goes out there, gets a crazy KO. That'd be insane. But that, I feel like, is lollipop land, man. I feel like that's lollipop land. In reality, I got to go Holloway. The volume, the accuracy, his elusiveness, his footwork is a lot better than what it once was against McGregor. And a big thing for Max, do not circle to your right. Don't circle into the power hand. Right? And McGregor used to throw those spinning attacks and those wild kicks to then get you to, if you were circling away from the left hand, to where he kind of would throw it across the body to where you could avoid it. Now, he used to use those spinning attacks to then move you in the opposite direction to then kind of corral you into the left hand. So I think Max is going to be aware. He brought in JDM for his camp, which, maybe not the best guy to get you ready for McGregor, but I get it. JDM can box out of the southpaw stance. He's got good boxing skills. I think Holloway is going to be a little bit slicker, a little bit faster. I feel like not cutting as much weight. It's going to do wonders for Holloway. McGregor looks good early, puts Holloway in some danger. Max weathers the storm, and if anyone's going to bite down on the mouthpiece, out-grit the other, and pull through in a dogfight, I think that guy would be Holloway. But it's interesting, man. McGregor's got the reach advantage. He does well. You know, it's an open stance battle where he can use that lead hand to control the distance, to try to snipe with the left hand. Holloway's going to try to throw the right hand. McGregor's going to look to counter with the left. That lead uppercut that McGregor throws, that left hand lead uppercut behind it, man, he's precise. So I'm not counting out McGregor. I think he's got a lot more of a chance than what a lot of people think. And I think if Conor gets it done, he's going to have to starch Holloway within the first 2 rounds. I definitely think it's possible, but I got to side with Holloway pulling this thing out and going with the guy that I've seen in the game, active, motivated, dialed in, locked in, ready to go. I think Max Holloway gets it done and gets his get back against Conor McGregor at UFC 329.